All right, welcome to another episode of the Empowerment Perspective Podcast. Overtime. I go by the name of Demiso Josie alongside.
Spencer's here.
How you doing, sir?
Doing well. We live at the barbecue.
Live at the barbecue.
Infamous barbecue. Annual barbecue Family Empowerment.
Yeah, man. We out here hustling. We just dropped the episode for the radio show, the Empowerment Perspective radio show, about getting the kids back to school and giving parents tips on how they can get their kids ready. Your thoughts on that particular show?
I think we were able to give them some really good information, so that they're ready to go. Because come day one, first day of school, if you're not ready, then what happens normally is you lost.
Yeah, you're already behind. You got to make sure that they're coming out of the gate ready to go and fresh. And the teachers need to be ready too. Vacation should be over for you. Yes. It's time to start focusing and getting ready for these kids that are coming in, because you're getting a new crop of kids too. So you're lucky you get to follow the same group of kids. For 3 years. I know there's some kids you was like, I wish they graduated already. I got to see them again.
I had a really good group last year, so I had a group of special students as well as my 8th grade class. So I emailed you a little earlier. I gave you Cheeks' information for the football game, so we're going to check that out. But for the most part, I had a really special class last year, and I'm looking to be able to take them and go to the next step.
Right.
So 7th period is going to be a really important year for them.
Now, we never talked. How do you prepare for the school year?
How do I prepare? Typically, July, I do nothing related to school, nothing at all. But then August, what happens is that I start getting into my documentaries, and I start reading my articles and things of that nature, so I have to be able to be mentally prepared. And then I start reaching out to different agencies and stuff like that to see what they have to offer.
What was the last documentary you saw, other than Last Chance U?
QB1.
QB1? I was going to watch that the other day.
So we had 3 of the guys, they sort of been, I guess, ranked 1, 2, and 3 across the nation. So that was really good. So Netflix is doing a really good job of giving us a bird's eye view of what's going on in sports. I'm
going to throw this out there. Netflix, get ready. Another 3 years. Empowerment Perspective Group going to have something for you from the documentary side, and we're going to be on Netflix. I'm saying it today. We're going to be on Netflix. We're going to have something for you. So we're down here in Egg Harbor Township, obviously an area that we're both familiar with. Yes. Why are we live at the barbecue?
We're live at the barbecue, so we can talk to, I guess, the CEO, the coach, the GM of Family Empowerment.
Greg Cuggins.
Yes, and then we got Joe, and he's like the
executive director.
He's like Bill Belichick. So he does everything that the CEO doesn't do.
Well, welcome to the show, guys.
Well, let me say this. Even though it's like the Patriots organization without all the cheating scandals.
Without the cheating scandals. I'm about to ask, is somebody inflating?
Indeed.
Everything is clean here.
Yes.
Just do your job.
Yes.
That is funny. Well, welcome, gentlemen. And can you tell a little bit about what you do in your organization?
Well, we have 2 companies, Family Empowerment Associates, which does in-community services for youth from anywhere from 4 years old to 19. And now we just opened a recovery center in Galloway at 76 West. And we're dealing with both adults and adolescents in drug and alcohol recovery. And
why did you decide to embark on this journey? We talk about having a why all the time. Like, what is the reason why?
I think drugs and alcohol are ruining this whole generation and other generations, and I have some family members who had addiction issues, so we're trying to kind of make that a whole lot better.
Yeah, I got you. And why did you decide to get involved in
the need? 8 out of every 10 clients that we probably see are dually diagnosed, which means they have mental health issues as well as substance issues. And it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. So there's such a need there with what we do day to day in-home services. We saw that there was a need for outpatient services. We saw that there was a need for intensive outpatient services. And we also saw that there was a need, specialization with youth, adolescents, for substance abuse.
So now you mentioned the mental health aspect of it as well as the drug abuse. In terms of your tactics and your approach, and I'm sure it's unique to the individual, but typically are you trying to address the mental health side of it or the addiction side of it first, or is it a combination of
a combination of both?
Okay. And as educators, we obviously deal with a lot of mental health issues. So I wanted to stay there for a second.
One of the challenges, not to interrupt, but one of the challenges is a lot of times substance abuse mimics mental health. So sometimes you have to totally have someone weaned off of whatever it is that they're doing in order to get a true baseline on where their mental health status is.
I got you.
Let's go a little deeper. Let's go back to and start with Greg. The first day you go into a person's home, Take us through that. How's that for you?
For in community services, you walk into somebody's house, which I both work in my office and I work in people's houses. You get a ton more information by going in their house because you can actually see how they live. They don't get dressed up and sit in your couch in your waiting room and come in and talk to you. They're living there. You can see how all the siblings operate, how. I've been in houses where there's a 5-gallon bucket in the middle of the floor that's full of dirty diapers. So you can get a whole lot more information about what's really going on. So that's the part. When you walk in, it's a little bit different because you're seeing so much more stuff. So it's not like when you come in my office, I shake your hand, say how you doing, and what are we working on. You get a whole lot more information.
Gotcha. I guess they give parents some advice on walking, because I have a daughter and I have 2 daughters and they have their own room, and I try to tell my parents, teachers and parents that I deal with, that you can tell a lot by your kids when you walk in, just by the way their room is laid out and the things. You just have to pay attention to the signs that you see in there. I'm for one, I'll read my daughter's diary. As long as it's underneath my roof, it's fair game. So I'm going in there and making sure that I read that. But you also the clothes that they're wearing, and you get a sense of their friends, and you get a sense of where they are in a mental space, what they're struggling with, because they may not come right out and tell you this is what I'm dealing with, and but you have to be really receptive of that environment.
I think a lot of times when you're building a relationship with son or daughter, having those open conversations and making sure that the comfort level, no matter what it is, for your son and daughter to be able to come tell you, that really is tremendous and it helps a lot, especially when you're doing in-home counseling or you're doing any type of drug and alcohol counseling. Like, you have to be really true about what you're going through in order for real solutions to become.
Got you. So as a parent and as a child that's struggling with substance abuse, what kind of tools could you give a parent to be able to communicate and assist what you guys are doing?
Well, again, you say check your daughter's diary. I think you have to be really vigilant. I just went to a training where kids were keeping drugs inside the rim of their hat and stuff like that, and it's just, you have to be really vigilant. You have to know your own child and know their behaviors, and they're probably the best indicators.
Right. And be a stalker of your kids. I'm on social media and everything. There's no safe.
And just to emphasize, this transcends every culture, every gender, every race, every creed, every color. We're all in this together.
Right. Let's go to the substance abuse side of it, specifically in this area in New Jersey. We having a huge, opiate addiction. I've lost probably 5 students in the last 6 months to overdosing in that area. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how to. I know the preventative should be done, but at some point they're at a point where it's too late for that. Like, what kind of advice could you give to be able to? Let's start with resources. What's the first step a parent should do once they recognize this?
Well, I think New Jersey has a new hotline that you can call, but checking out just from your pediatrician. They're like the first source.
Gotcha.
Services are usually geared towards least to most restrictive. So like Greg had said, start out with the pediatrician and then go from there. Maybe you have to procure in-home services. Before that, maybe even outpatient services that lead to in-home services. And then from there, maybe like a local adolescent or substance abuse program, and then from there it'll determine the level of care, where if they have to go into like an intensive out-of-home facility where it's 6 to 9 months, depending upon the individual and their needs. Everyone's unique.
Right. Absolutely. And I think a lot of times what happens is that some kids don't want to change. And because of that, all the services, so you start with the pediatrician and you can go to your outpatient and you go to your inpatient, all of that doesn't work because they're not ready.
The disclaimer is this: you could be the best parent in the world and your kid can go south. You can be the worst parent in the world and your kid can wind up in Temple or Harvard or Yale.
Temple's a great school, by the way. Thanks for the plug.
Shout out.
I knew I liked you. And you're a Cowboy fan. I love it. I know there's a lot of parents I talk to, there seems to be a stigma with mental health institutions, and they're afraid to make that connection, because I kind of feel like they feel like they're a failure in some sense. what can we do to sort of lessen that burden for the parents that may see? So we talk to a lot of parents who say, I'm not taking them to outpatient or inpatient because that's for crazy people, or that's like how can we start to break down those barriers and make that feel a little bit more comfortable for them?
Well, again, there's a organization called Perform Care. You can just call them on hotline. You'll talk to a therapist. They'll try to set you up for in-community services, which is not income-based. It's need-based. And that's a first step. But I want to get back to some of the stuff you said. I think one of the biggest things I see is parents want to be their kids' friends, and I think that's the beginning of the downfall. I'm not my daughter's friend. I'm her father, and you know what? Sometimes I make decisions that she might not like, but bottom line is I'm her father, and I have her best interest, and I think parents want to be their friends so their kids like them. And I didn't always like my parents, but I knew they always had my back.
Right. You were going to say something?
I always use this in parent education. I say, if you try to be their friend, you'll never be their parent. But I guarantee if you be their parent, you'll always be their friend. And sometimes you have to make, you can't be a politician. Sometimes you have to make tough decisions. It may not always be the favorite, but at the end of the day, they're our greatest commodity, the kids.
And I deal with a lot of single parents, and especially single mothers, and in talking to them, they feel like they need to overcompensate for the fact that they don't have the father in their life. And that's where the friend sort of comes into play. And there's a certain level of guilt. And I have conversations with them all the time. I say, you're doing them a disservice of making, overcompensating for the fact that they don't have a father in the home. That lesson is they'll learn from that. You know what I'm saying? And if you feed it the correct way by buying them the Jordans and buying them the stuff because you feel sorry for them, it's actually hurting them more than it is helping them.
And I think that once that empathy and sympathy kicks in, and parents, like you said, are trying to overcompensate what they're doing, is they are destroying. They're destroying the path that these kids should be on because you're trying to interfere. Sometimes you need to go through pain. Sometimes you need to go through hurt in order to get where you got there.
The greatest songwriters went through pain. And 8 out of every 10 families that we see are single parents, usually a woman or a female. And out of the 2 that are units, probably 1 out of the 2 shouldn't even be together. You go into the home and the kid is the most stable.
Right.
Those are the numbers. That's what we see on a daily basis. You know this as well from doing, and you know it as well from in your position.
And if you even look at CEOs of companies, like your major CEOs and the ones that are being successful have come from some sort of struggle because they know how to deal with it. So when it comes in a business sense, it's not the end of the world. They know how to maneuver. So I'm a firm believer that you need to struggle in something. And as a parent, I struggle with that because my kids have both parents at home, so I find myself trying to manufacture struggle for them on some level just so that they can feel it and say it. So, and it's on a small level. They're little kids now, so I talked about not checking their homework. No, you're gonna fail if you get it wrong, and you've got to figure out how to overcome it. I think teaching people how to fail correctly goes a long way to that mental health and preventing them from leading down that path.
I mean, I learned my best lessons in life from the hard times. When things are really good, I just glide, and I'm not learning anything. I'm just gliding. When I have to hit a brick wall, that's when I learn a good lesson.
Yeah, so many lessons that you can learn through failure, especially learning what not to do. You can't do that anymore because
success is the result of many failures.
Yes. And being able to listen to people that's been there before. And I tell our students all the time, I said, this is an example of, I just came from the mall, and I'm telling you, if I come down English Creek, there's an accident there and there's potholes down there, it's going to take you 3 hours. Don't go that way. You want to go to the mall, don't go. I'm telling you, I just came from down there. Now you make the decision yourself. Some of them are hard-headed. I'm still going to go down English Creek, and it's going to take them 3 hours to get to the mall. I said, I told you how to avoid all of that because I've been down there. So being able to tell those stories and hopefully guiding these young people in the right direction is really huge. We talked to your friend today, and I kind of wanted to talk to him a little bit more. Like, you need to share that story. You need to share those overcoming things because somebody needs to hear that.
And I had no idea. No idea that was something that he was from. So when he mentioned it, it put me, I'm like, man, really? He's recovering from her. So had no idea. I'd known this guy over 20 years. Had no idea that was his struggle. So So, but today he was on a radio show and he came out with it, and it sounded like he was really proud about going through that particular struggle, being able to come through it.
Yeah, it was definitely a deep story, and I just want more people to be able to share their story. My father's sitting over on the side. We're gonna get him in here in a minute, but he has a testimony that he would share too, and I learned a lot from his story and things of that nature. Welcome to the show, Pop.
Welcome.
Hey,
Okay.
how y'all doing? It's amazing though, addiction is a disease,
Yeah, absolutely.
and a lot of us stay in it because of codependency. Oh, my son, they think you helping them, but you're not helping them. You're not helping them at all. And I'm 1995. I've been recovering.
Oh, wow.
Amen.
Just make some noise.
Yeah, that's
So it's a lot. I could sit for hours and days to tell you about my story, but it's a blessing.
So you're on the cusp of a quarter century.
Yeah.
And what was it that made you make that decision to
I got tired of being tired of sick and tired of being sick and tired.
And that's when people change.
Yeah. You got to make that decision.
Yep.
And I turned it over. And I start seeing the results. Because really what I was really doing with the addiction, I was filling a void, and I was trying to be somebody I wasn't. And that drug was doing it. It was making me somebody I wasn't. And when it wasn't there, I had to go get some more for me to be that person. So when I stopped, I had to learn how to be who I really am. So then I learned how to do that, and I began to like me.
Good for you.
Yeah, I didn't want nobody to like me. I needed to learn how to like myself. So what I did, I started reaching out and talking to other people. And then when that guy shared what he shared, I know automatically because likes attracted likes. I knew what he went through, what he's been going through. So it's just a constant battle.
So out of curiosity, when are you going to make an appearance at Family Empowerment Recovery Services and tell your story?
Whenever you let me know, I can do that.
I just have a question for you. How was it growing up with a dad? How did
He
it?
didn't grow up with me.
Oh, okay.
I said,
No, listen. I mean, for me, it was. I think he left when I was maybe 3 or 4. So I had bits of pictures and pieces, but I never understood what was going on until I haven't. Off and on we would see each other, and then not to get too deep and religious into it, but something God told me that I need to invite him to my college graduation. So I invited him to my college graduation. He came down, and it was a great time. We had a conversation in my mother's basement at the time. And, he apologized for not being a part. At this time, he's recovered, he's clean, and he's telling me that, I apologize for not being a part of your life and things of that nature. And I thanked him, and I said, I'm not thanking you for the apology. I'm actually thanking you for not being a part of my life because your absence taught me how to be a father to my kids. And I knew what I didn't want for them. So his story and things, and I'm still learning bits and pieces of what happened. And at that defining moment, and the defining moment for me was when he said, I can't tell you how to live your life. I'm going to just tell you I'm going to be there for you. And that was all that I needed to hear. And I was just like, all right, well, we're going to bridge this gap. And we're the best of friends. We call each other every Sunday and talk about his Panthers. I talk about Cowboys. And he comes, up here and he's been on the podcast, he's been on the radio, and he's not afraid to tell a story. And I respect that. I'm learning still from him and, my own personal struggles with whatever it is I'm going through. And I'm like, he able to do that as a man to conquer his addiction and then try to redevelop a relationship with his sons who we haven't seen in so long. It's a lot
of strength.
Tell me about it. It's teary-eyed.
So, and then the dynamics of my family, I have 2 older brothers that are twins, and we all deal with it differently and process it differently. So there's still work that needs to be done there. But it's just knowing that story. So I see a lot of myself in him too, and good and bad. So it's kind of scary too. It was like, I know the story. Am I heading down that path too? Am I going in that direction too? And then I can reach out and say, I'm struggling with this, Pop. What, how did you able to? It takes 2 men to be able to get to the point. And say,
but the services that you provide, a lot of people don't look at it as a disease. They look at that person and say, "Oh, you a bad
It's a
person."
character flaw.
Yeah, don't do that.
People think it's a choice.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's
Substance abuse and mental health are both
if you get
hereditary.
past the vice that they on, there's something driving them to do that.
I always say this in my sessions. Like, I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and goes to the cabinet
Say,
and says, I want some heroin because I want to go through all this crap.
They might wake up in the morning and say, "I wish I could stop doing this."
Make that point again, because you said that it's hereditary.
Substance abuse and mental health are often hereditary. And to piggyback what Greg had said, people wake up in the morning, they say, maybe I want to be a stockbroker or I want to play center field for the Yankees, but no one says I want to be a heroin addict.
No, nobody want to do that.
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I've done many career assessments with my youth, and not one time. Anybody check off the box. Heroin addicts is me.
I want to be a president. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a policeman. But
Absolutely.
nobody says.
But here's the thing, too. What we got to be careful as parents is we got to stop being dream killers. Because at some point, we all, when we were little, I want to be the astronaut, I want to be the doctor. Somebody came along and said, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of time as a parent to say, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I want my kid to be a lawyer, and you need to be a lawyer. You're trying to live there. That's your dream, not theirs. So when you start putting up these restrictions, and then you start reflecting, well, maybe I'm not good enough to be a lawyer, or maybe I was meant to do this, and then that's when you start to get that process of you sort of being lost.
But I applaud y'all guys, man. I really
Thank
do.
you.
Really do.
Part of cognitive behavioral therapy, which we often use, is I'll say something like, those who say they can and those who say they can't are both usually right. And I think that's a profound statement. It makes you really sit and take a self-inventory. Those who say they can and those who say they can't are both usually right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You try to alter the existing schemas, the thoughts, and you try to bring them to a more positive state.
Yeah.
I have a story to tell about what you just said. I saw a kid I used to work for Atlantic Care, child adolescent, and this kid came in with his mom. He was in 7th grade. And I asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up. That was one of my standard questions. He said, I want to be a fashion designer. Okay, so, kind of, his mom was schizophrenic, so I said, well, maybe he's just out there. He wound up in Atlantic City High School, and I was a therapist for the teen center there. He came. He wanted to be a fashion designer. He started sewing. He brought these little things, and he put his name on it, and they looked like pencil things, but to him they were pocketbooks. Okay? Kept doing it. Did it. When he became a junior, he came up to the teen center. He said, I keep applying to this college program, this fashion program, but they're only college students. But he wrote so many letters that they let him in. He was the only high school student they ever let in this program. And the teen center sponsored it. It was a $500 sponsorship. We paid for it. He wound up going to Parsons, which is one of the premier fashion. So I always talk about this story because when he was in 7th grade, it was a pipe dream for him,
Right.
and he just kept at it. And actually, he had a fashion show at the Atlantic City Library. They put all his stuff on a whole floor. So again, he stuck to it, and he had a lot of odds. Like his mom had mental health issues, and she didn't have a lot of resources, but he kept sticking to it. So I always talk about that story because it was a big success.
Right. We as adults have to feed our kids' aspirations. And there's a lot of jobs and things out there that you don't need to go to school for. That kid could have been a fashion designer when he was 12.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we got to start feeding our kids' aspirations and really supporting them. That should be our role as adults. And I see kids, not necessarily my physical kids, but any kids, anybody that you work with or come across.
A lot of times what happens, and what leads kids down that path where they get involved with substance abuse and even alcohol for that matter, is because someone that they held really close to their heart told them they can't do something. So now what happens is that somebody else who doesn't really know them that well, doesn't even care about them, they start introducing them to a lifestyle. And after that, it goes all downhill because they start telling them everything that they want, everything they can have.
Right. That lifestyle is a huge thing, and I'm kind of glad you brought that up. Even with my personal struggles, even years ago, I found it was like the lifestyle I was living was causing the issues.
They had a saying in rehab that is the drug that kill you or is the lifestyle that kill you. It's the lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we had battles across our tables about figuring out which one was the. And I hear you talking about mental health.
Yes, sir.
they were saying, man, this stuff is brainwashing you. Well, I need my brainwashed. Because it's dirty.
You can't get an accurate baseline until you're off the drugs for what the mental health issues are.
And then you need a higher power to turn yourself over to. You got to do that. That's the only thing that's going to clean you. Because you can't do it on your own.
Spiritual connection is big.
Right. Oh, man, I was depleted when I was out there like that. Demons was, and all that stuff was just tearing me up. And then when April the 6th, 1995, when I decided to turn my will over and I let it go. And it was a fuzzy feeling came on me, and I haven't since dealt with that drug or nothing.
Nice.
Can we talk about, again, go back to mental health thing, and I feel like there's layers to mental health. Or I think the common perception is that you're dealing with your schizophrenia, you're dealing with suicidal ideations, but I think there's so many different levels to mental health. Can somebody elaborate and break down technically what mental health is?
Well, I think the whole United States has anxiety now. Ever since 9/11, I think everybody has anxiety to a certain extent. We learn how to cope with it and we deal with it. But I think it's about choices. When I was a kid, I had 6 channels, three UHF and 3 VHF, and 3 of them didn't work most of the time. So you had 3 channels. Now there's 1,000 channels. There's thousands of things you can do. You can go to different schools. When I was growing up, you either went to Catholic school or you went to a public school in your area. You didn't have choice. Charter school. So I think a lot of it's anxiety over choices and what am I going to do and the recent
Especially social media. Our parents didn't have social media. Facebook back in the day was you picked up the telephone and called someone. And today we have streaming live. Like if you watched a ball game on Monday Night Football, you waited until Tuesday sometimes to get the results because of what time the game ended if it was on the West Coast.
Yeah. Social media is a tough thing to navigate. And the interesting thing, it wasn't created for what it's being used for.
Absolutely.
It was more created for the business aspect of being able to have conferences across the world and things of that nature. And we just use it and using it as a social tool. And it's just I struggle with it because, especially with young people, because the life that you see on social media is not real, and I can't tell people enough. You're not living like that all the time. It's a fantasy.
They don't know how to have relationships.
No.
Reality TV and such.
They do not know how to have relationships. So when they come, they're either defensive or offensive.
This is the relationships today. It's
texting.
It's texting. It's not face-to-face communication. Will always be the best form of communication.
Absolutely.
When the last time somebody wrote a letter to somebody and sent it? Talk to them on the land for a field. It don't happen no more.
Well, how about you go down?
I want to go back to your question when you were talking about the layers of mental health. So you have everybody. I think everybody has an issue with mental health. Everybody, but you have healthy, you have unhealthy. So when it becomes unhealthy and you can no longer function on a daily basis, that's when you start to think, okay, I need some help because this is taking too much out of me, and I can't only think about this, and it becomes unhealthy. Nothing you can do. It's pretty much everything is focused on this one thing you can't let go.
And I'm just thinking as you said that, I'm looking at thinking about my daughters and they're even a little bit older. I feel like a lot of people start falling down that rabbit hole because they're too dependent on other people and on other things. I try to put my family in a situation where we don't need anybody or anything. If you want to help, if I ask you for help, you want to help, then it's fine. If not, then I'm going to still be okay. And I think that a lot of people are falling in that rabbit hole because when I go ask you for help and you're not able to help me, now you're not a good friend, you're not my friend. Now the rabbit hole starting to get deeper and deeper and deeper.
It's not so much as me asking for help, but me looking for suggestions on how I can help myself. Because that's when you talk about healthy and unhealthy with mental health. Like, if you're telling me what I should be doing now, I can just come to you. You're going to be able to tell me about my whole life.
Right.
But if you're giving me suggestions, well, maybe you should try this, or maybe you should do this. So communication, when we talk about face-to-face communication, if you have somebody, a small circle of friends that you can trust and tell and talk to about your day, now what happens is that you're not holding on to it. So you're not carrying it over to the next day. But what happens is that a lot of times we get a book bag and we just put everything back in. It becomes too much.
And one of the things that I really treasured is the persons that was helping me been through what I've been through.
And we talked about that all the
Very
time.
difficult for me to perceive what you're talking about, because you coming to me with a scientific aspect, but you ain't been through it.
Theoretical.
Yeah,
Theoretical approach.
you have never had a hangover. You haven't never done nothing. How you gonna tell me how I feel? So when I get someone that say, "Let me tell you about my story," their testimony or whatever you want to say, then I say, "Oh man, I'm going through the same thing." And then they like y'all do, supply us with the tools that we can use mentally, spiritually, how we can avoid some of these issues. Then I start putting it together, and I say, okay, this is how it works. But until then, my own accord.
Well, as therapists, sometimes we're kind of geared not to share our own lives as much as.
Okay, I see.
Some people come in, and it's okay to share your experience, and so somebody can relate to you. But sometimes people share their lives and kind of put their troubles on their clients, and that's not a really good thing. But to share, say, I have 10 kids. I have 9 stepkids and 1 biological daughter. If I have a client who's struggling with blended families, if I say that, they can understand and say, hey, he understands some of the stuff I'm going through.
Right.
Yes, but I don't sit there and say, well, yeah, and this one did that, and this one did that.
No,
I just kind of share so they can understand.
Yeah, and two, by me speaking to prisons and going into different recovery places, I had to learn what I need to speak about. Like you were saying, you can mess somebody completely up by giving them the wrong message. You can mess them slap up. So because they real delicate and they
So you're fragile when you're talking.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Very fragile. So you can send them straight to HELL, or you can send them.
So as a therapist, sometimes it's a hard choice to pick. Do I disclose? Do not disclose?
Yeah.
You have to kind of pick your moments.
Yeah.
Self-disclosure, if it's used in the appropriate
It ain't no
manner, is
book text.
therapeutically.
There ain't no
Yeah.
book text doing it.
Just like parenting, there's no book to come. You know, you can go get a book to learn how to drive. You can learn how about marriage stuff, but there's no book about that.
And I think your delivery also tells your client that, he knows what he's talking about. He either been through something himself, he knows somebody, he's seen this before, without you having to tell the story.
Right,
So I think that's really important. Just for the young people out there, you have to put yourself around people that's going to empower you and not take away from your dream or whatever it is that you're doing. They're tying themselves to people because of circumstances. They live in the same neighborhood, or they're relatives, and they're not looking at and it's kind of, you need to be selfish on some level. Well, what can I get out of this relationship? You know what I mean? But at the same time, what can I also give that person as a give and take? If your answer is all they're giving you is a laugh and a smile and some weekend stuff, then that's not somebody that's going to take you to that next level. It comes and goes. And people are in your life for a season. And I'd say all the time, it's like you see the rocket take off, and then that rocket takes off, and then at some point the things fall off. And the rocket keeps going. I said, those people are like that. At some point, these people are going to fall off, and you have to just keep going. And hopefully, you'll find another group that is going to propel you to that next level. But so many people are tied to, just people that are not healthy for them, and it's detrimental to them.
And it causes grief. Because you don't want to lose nothing, but when you do, because one of the things that I had to do was turn my way from the people I was associating with. I had to find a new clientele. And I said, well, they ain't my friends. But I had to really understand what my friends were, who they were. Like he was saying, if you ain't helping me, you ain't my friend.
But even family members, sometimes you can love your family
That
members
was the
from
worst
afar.
one.
You
That was the
know what?
worst
You don't
one.
have to be right there with them. You can love them from afar, and sometimes that's what we need to do. Sometimes.
And I deal with that with my stepchildren. I still love you, but you gotta fight. You gotta go.
That's crazy.
Let's switch gears for a little bit.
Yeah, I was about to say that. We're going to switch gears a little bit.
So Greg, you have an interesting hobby that you obviously have all around this place. It's all about boating.
Yes. Well, when I got out of high school, I went to a seaman school, and I worked on tugboats for 7 years. And growing up, we spent every summer in Brigantine, so we always had a boat. So it's just always been around water. It's always been my little island of peace. That's, I don't really do drugs, or I don't drink. I don't gamble my money away. That's my little island of peace. So So I've had a boat since I'm 7 years old.
Wow. Okay.
I've never been without a boat.
Wow. Okay.
Any particular kind of boat, sailboat?
I started out as with a 8-foot boat with a 3 horsepower motor on it, and I just worked my way up. Now I have a 30-footer.
Wow.
So
Okay, so to someone like myself who knows nothing about boating, how big is a 30-footer in comparison to what?
well, it sleeps 6 people, and you can 7 people can fish comfortably on.
Okay, next interview we're doing with Family and Power, we're on the boat.
We're on the boat.
We're fishing. We got 6 beds.
We are fishing.
Yes.
Cowboys fan.
Yes.
There's a little conflict there. You got a Phillies hat on and a Cowboy. You're a Cowboys fan. Why are you a Cowboys fan?
Well, they're America's team.
Yes, they are. I concur. Huh.
No, somebody said something the other day. I don't know if it was Skip Bayless. He was like, it's America's team, but America's team hasn't won anything about 20 years.
Neither has America, technically not. So the Cowboys win Super Bowl. America's going to start winning. No, I'm just messing. What's your team?
I'm a Raider fan.
How'd that happen? With Chucky? You back with Chucky?
Chucky was there last night.
Yes. We're back.
Marchand got a 60-yarder call back.
Called it back. It looked good to me. Matter of fact, we were at Chicken and Peas, and I'm like, my
Colton
Raiders.
Miller called the penalty on the first-round pick. It was a hold, yeah. Yeah.
It was back on.
Yeah, we were at Chicken and Pete's and we were talking, and this guy in mid-sentence just starts screaming and hollering. I'm like, what's wrong with it? And he's
It's
running
been a long
outside.
time since I had something to cheer about that's going on. But no, so I originally was a Cowboys fan. So when you talk about Tom Landry, you talk about Tony Dorsett and Drew Pearson, Everson Walls, I was a huge Cowboy. And then when they moved me to Pleasantville, it was just too many Cowboys fans. I said, you know what, I'm going over. Marcus Allen just pulled off that amazing run.
Marcus
against
Allen
Washington.
was a transcendent talent.
Yes, that's how I'm with Oakland. And then we got Bo Jackson. I said, I'm here to stay.
I'm not mad at that. You know, you guys invented the tuck rule. Thank you.
No.
Thank you, Oakland.
And the Stickum rule.
Yeah, the stick.
Yeah,
The Stickum rule.
The stick-em, yes. We had to stick 'em.
off, yeah.
But when it comes to that tuck rule, that's a really personal sentiment issue for me.
Jack
I've
Tatum.
never heard I play football my whole life, and nobody ever screamed, "There's the tuck rule,
Tuck
no
rule.
fumble." Nobody ever say anything about that.
Kids are saying that now in 2 hands.
Playing 7-on-7, it's the tuck rule. Can't grab a
That
flag.
is too funny. So you're Phillies fan?
Phillies fan, Sixers fan, but I like Dallas. But in general, I was very happy to see the Eagles win the Super Bowl. It was nice to see. Yeah,
impressed.
very much a team dynamic. It was next man up, and I
asked
thought,
Greg earlier, how are they going to learn how to win? Because they can't be angry anymore. They're the Super Bowl champions. They can't throw snowballs in second place.
you know, to make an analogy, and I always use sports analogies, and a lot of the ladies that I work with, they laugh.
Even when you interviewed me, yes.
When I interviewed you, I
Yes.
did. The Eagles had a personality last year where it was the next man up. And at Family Empowerment, it's often the next man up. It's not Greg or myself or Samantha Knock or Joe Stahl or Joanne Klein or Kareem Spence or Rebecca Lee, and I could go on and on and on. We go down the whole roster. That's what it is here. It truly is a family. The CEO, Greg, he's fostered a culture where it is a family within a family.
Now, what does that mean? Because a lot of organizations and a lot of companies say, "Oh, we're family," and it's so not like that. Like, what does that mean? Being creating a family.
To me, it means I worked for Landcare for a long time, and at one time we had a boss, and he would come in and he'd say, "Hey, how are your kids?" And it's like we didn't go out to the bar. He didn't come over to my house, but I just knew that he kind of knew what was going on, and that was a good boss for me. He just showed that he cared about me as an employee. And if I had a disagreement with him, he never, I won't say never, but rarely changed his mind, but he would at least entertain my discussion about it. And I think that's what families do.
Nice.
And families argue at times, have disagreements, and we've
Yeah.
had many
Yeah, they
disagreements
do.
where we've been able to come back to the table and, get back to business.
It's nice. It's nice. Well, gentlemen, I definitely thank you for your time. We're going to take you away from your barbecue
Get
too
back
much.
to the barbecue.
I got to get back to the barbecue. But thank you for the information that you give our audience and things. And we're definitely looking forward to having you guys back on the show at some point.
On the boat.
Yeah, on the boat.
Thank you.
On the boat. So,
Sounds good to me.
any last words, sir?
I just want to thank Greg, and Joe for their time, because they didn't have to do this, but they decided that, this was something that we can do, be able to get the information information out there for people that need help, especially with the new arrival of the program of substance abuse and that issue that these guys are going to tackle. To be able to help Atlantic County and actually New Jersey in general, because we need all the help we can get.
All right. So, Pop, any last words?
No, just, it's a blessing, man, to be here. With him, with Mr. Petty. And, I'm on the other side. But prior to, it's a blessing. Thank you for having me.
And I just want one last word for parents. Don't give up hope. There's always hope. There's hope out there, and if your kid's struggling with drug addiction, there's hope out there.
All right. And I'm gonna close with today's lesson. Today's lesson is about don't be afraid to tell your story, and don't be afraid to help somebody else. Your story and what you've gone through. You don't have to necessarily be a therapist. You don't have to be an educator. Take the time to sit down with somebody and just have a conversation. Face to face and connect with people. And step out of your comfort zone a little bit and make friends and connect with just people. Because somebody out there needs to hear your story and needs to have that connection. You can be a blessing to somebody without you even knowing it. So reach out. Let's just help each other, man, and let's just be there for each other and support each other and give each other, that love and guidance that we can give, to whether it's children or your friends and family members. Let's just make this a better place, man. Let's stop being selfish and stop, thinking it's all about you, and really work on helping others and making this, place a better place to be. So on behalf of the Empowerment Perspective Group, this was Overtime, and stay empowered.